This is one of the most important, valuable things in all of OpenSpace. So, basically, there's only a couple of things we're going to do here, so but I want us to repeat them, and I want us to do it over, and I want us to get it and learn it, and so we should have time to get through everything, no problem, but it's like, of all the workshops that we have and do, when I do a presentation every month, and I'm setting up my dome, it's what we're going to show in this workshop that I do and use, so I just really want to make sure that we get this one. So, what are we talking about here? We're going to talk about an overview of the profile editor. The profile editor is what we use to make our custom profiles. It's maybe the least visually appealing part of our whole graphical user interface, but it's important. In the future, we'll make it more visually appealing. We're open to any help that anyone wants to. So we're going to go over an overview with it. Then we're going to cover the 3 key important areas of it, which are the properties, the assets, and the action keybinds. You'll see that we have already separated out those into more important, so it'll show you that they're more important, and then we'll list and go through the other settings. Okay, so this is the profile editor, but before I show that, I have to show how can we get to it. So we're going to launch OpenSpace, but before we hit start, and hopefully for everybody it says default here, and before we hit start, we're going to actually go here for new, and we're going to hit duplicate profile, and that will open up this box for us. And this box is what I'm showing here, where I'm just going to give a little overview. So if you didn't get to that box, you are hitting new, and you are hitting duplicate profile. Okay. And then we're at this box, and now I'm just going to describe it a little bit. If you need the box to be bigger, you can go to the display settings of Windows and change that like zoom percentage thing in the Windows display settings, and this window like reads that setting from Windows or whatever. So on the left are the 3 boxes and the 3 main parts that I want to talk about today. These are the important parts. The properties. This is where you save the settings of your profile. Just for an example, if in this particular profile about Mars, I wanted Mars's trail to be green, this is where I would save that. Second, very important, assets, right? So, for example, in this profile, I wanted to include the Earth's magnetosphere. This is where I would do that. Then actions and keybinds, I'm going to create shortcuts. So, for example, in this profile, if I wanted to make it so that when I press the J key, that on Mars, the CTX layer and the high-rise layer fade up and turn on for me really nicely and smoothly, that's how I would do that in the actions and keybinds. So these are the 3 like really, really important things. On the right, we have some other things which are important but less important. Let's say the quick access items. So these are the things that show up in that list, that focus list, and another place in our GUI. So like in your profile, you're like, okay, I'm really focusing on Mars, Mercury, and the ISS. So you just put those 3 things in the list, and it makes them easier to get at. You have the start, location, and angle, the camera. I just see that as almost the least important part of a profile. One that you're making for yourself, because you could always just get there later. If you're sharing the profile, maybe it's super important. Yeah, thank you. Okay. And then this available GUI panels is a new one that we did not have before. So this is like down at the bottom, you might have heard us talking about this new GUI, and you can choose which things show up on the bottom. So that's that. And then this additional scripts, extra special scripts, this is like, maybe I'll talk about it at the end, but like if you have some extra code you want your profile to do that doesn't happen that isn't changing a property or something, this is where you could do it. A nice example would be like, if your profile, you want to always have it have the TRAPPIST-1 system. But every time you start the profile, you don't want to go to our exoplanet module, search TRAPPIST-1 and say add system. in here you could add the code that says OpenSpace.exoplanets.add exoplanet system TRAPPIST1 in that additional scripts, and then essentially the profile would be pushing the button for you of adding the TRAPPIST system. So you have it. Okay, so I'm not even going to ask if there's questions about this overview because we're literally going to go into each box now, or the first 3 boxes, and talk about them and show how to use them. And I desperately hope you do have some questions. If you don't, maybe this thing is way better than I thought. Okay, and actually I'm going to see if I can increase my size for while I'm showing. So it should be this percentage thing here. And okay, did it get bigger? Yeah, awesome. If you go too big, it might wind up going like off the screen, the save button, and then you can't find the save button. But you see how we got it to go bigger. Okay, so now, I guess I didn't mention, this is kind of important too, the name of the profile. So you give it a name. Right? Now, if I just hit save right now, it's going to save it on my computer. And I have a profile that is no different than the default profile. It's just there and ready to go. So, and now I can edit and edit. Now here is a funny thing about how it works, right? So I'm actually going to launch my profile, or just the default profile of OpenSpace. And I'm actually going to have OpenSpace open while I build my profile. This is not something that you need to do, but it's something that we found out later after we built this thing that it's oh my god, it's way better and easier to use and do if you are doing it together. Now, how do you actually do that? And the way that you do that is you literally just go to your OpenSpace shortcut or your OpenSpace exe and you run a second copy of OpenSpace, but you don't hit start. So you don't hit start. So you have the second copy of just the OpenSpace launcher running. You don't hit start. So I have my OpenSpace that I started, but I have this other one where I don't hit start, and instead I hit edit. And now I can edit my profile as I have my OpenSpace running over here. So over here I have my profile editor, and here I have my OpenSpace running. Question?
Does it matter which order you do those 2 things in?
It does not matter the order you do it.
Thanks.
Great question. Any questions about that in particular? It's kind of a funny, weird thing. It took us a little time to realize. Maybe in the future we'll figure out a different way to make that easier to do or more straightforward. We have a question?
Is it the edit that's right under the versus default?
Yes, the question was edit. But the thing is, I should have said this. You have to have saved your profile in order to edit. So when I showed doing it, but I didn't specifically say it, when you were on default and you went here to duplicate profile, you have to actually save it as something in order to then be able to edit it later. OpenSpace does not let you edit the default, the missions Apollo, the JWST profiles. So you have to save it as something, my first profile, in order to then go and edit. So then, once you have saved it as something, now I can pick it to edit. Thank you. Okay, so I'm basically going to show how to use the first box now. And basically what we're going to do is very simple. I'm going to change Earth's trail color, just as a start, and we'll do more later. But I'm just going to search here for Earth trail, and I'm going to go to my appearance and change the color, and we're just going to go orange. Okay? Now I'm saying, okay, in my profile, I want this to be saved so that the Earth trail is like that, right? So I'm going to go to my properties. Remember this where I said you save the settings, and if you were there in the 101 workshop, you might have heard me talk about the properties. These are things can have properties often associated with how they look. And so I'm going to edit my properties. And now here is where the hardest part of the whole thing comes in. Hopefully it's not too hard, but this is the weirdest, hardest part of the whole thing. So, I want to add that change that I just made and have it saved into my profile. If I knew all the code to write and stuff, I could do that, put that in myself by hitting Add New. But I would say I probably only, myself as a super advanced open space developer, I hit that Add New once a year or twice a year. And 17,000 times a year, I hit this button, which says Add from Script Log. And this button pops open a new window. This new window contains a code for every single thing you've done in the menu since you launched OpenSpace. Now, in this case, I only did one thing. So it has our two built-in OpenSpace codes. And the one thing that I did, right here, and the code says OpenSpace, set property value, earth trail, random appearance, color, blah, 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 blah. So you could look at that and say, ooh, there's the line for setting the earth trail, and hit save. And now your earth trail color would be saved, of course, if you hit save again. Now, well, just before your question, I just want to say one more thing before we get to the question. So, basically, if I went around like this and changed the color like this, now you're going to see in the script log, there's like a bajillion things, right? And how do you know which thing to pick, especially if all of them say earth color? Well, here is like this, the trick that makes this screen easy, and it almost makes it that you don't even have to know about the code, and you could even like 90% of the time just literally have no intelligence and not even look to see if it says earth color, because this is a log, right? So it's everything you do in order, and the trick is the thing at the bottom of the list is always the last thing you did in the menu. So it has this history of everything you've done, but if you're trying to save the last thing you did, it's at the bottom of the list. That's just easy. It's just, you do something, it shows up on the list. You do something, it shows up on the list. You do something, it shows up on the list. So there's this like thing about like the thing you want to save is just going to be at the bottom of the list. Okay, good question.
So I just wanted to double check. So you had the 3 lines, but you selected the last line and hit add.
Exactly. So,
and there's only one script log. So when you have that second instance open, it's opening the script log from the other one that's running.
Correct. Yes, exactly. So the script log gets written onto by OpenSpace as it runs. But in this other second copy, we haven't actually run OpenSpace yet. We're just using this launcher. So we haven't run OpenSpace, so it hasn't tried to make a script log. Okay, so we're going to do 1 or 2 more.
Was everyone able to get to that same step?
So so Micah, when it shows up and you can see the script log, but you click it and it doesn't add it to your asset, what's going on there?
Okay, so let's do this again. So I'm going to hit add script log.
Yeah, I got that.
I'm going to click on the thing.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to hit save.
Yeah, and it should show up.
And it should show up right here. If it didn't show up, what might have happened is that like if you have this dark theme instead of the light theme, it can be really hard to see when the line was selected or not. So you might have like selected and then deselected the line. I don't even know if you all can see that like I have selected this line here, but because I have the dark theme and windows, whatever, it's like pretty hard to see that line. So what happens is I could like click on that again by accident, and it gets deselected. And now, if I hit save, nothing is wind up getting saved into it, so it may have been that.
That was that.
Okay.
We'll go with the light theme. Well, help your desktop.
Yeah. It's a little tiny.
And so actually, before I go on and teach you how to do the, have us repeat in this profile box on the properties, I actually do just need to double check that they have not broken this. That we have not broken this. Oh, oops. Yeah. Because it actually looked to me like we might have broken something in that box, so that's unfortunate. Yes, we did. Okay, that is too bad. Okay, so, since I don't know, it's going to be funny. Since I don't know when we're going to fix that, I'm going to teach you the same exact thing, and just in a different box, and you're literally going to do the same exact thing, and you're going to say, why do you have these two boxes? Why did you try to teach me the first box when it's the second box?
What broke? Because it worked.
It worked for you?
Yeah.
When
Well, like,
you-
you mean like I added something and then started it again, and yeah, I took off the trail, saw it everywhere, and it worked. It seemed to work.
So when you changed, did you change the color?
No, I just took the trail off.
Okay, so if you tried to change the color, then it would not have worked. The color would not have changed.
Oh, okay.
It did?
Yeah,
Didn't hear.
it seemed to work. Because usually the trail's on, so that.
Well, so basically what I think is happening is the profile editor, if you saw mine, it's not actually grabbing the full color. It's only grabbing the
Oh.
first number of the color. Did people get the full color showing up there? Right, so this is why I said it's not working. So maybe scratch everything I said about this box, except, wait, hold on. Trust me, don't worry, it's not as bad as you thought. I promise, because I'm just going to launch it so we have it. So I mentioned we have this other box that is for running code that you want to put in your profile and scripts. It turns out that all these property values and things we want to change are scripts and code that we want to put in our profile. And so if I go to Earth Trail real quick and change the color, and now instead of editing properties, pretend that doesn't exist, I'm editing additional scripts. And guess what? It's the same exact process. I'm going to hit choose scripts. I'm going to pick the Earth Trail color at the bottom, and I'm going to hit save. Except this time it got all three of the numbers. And so it works. The reason that we have this other box and separate from that one is like we were trying to show you all the settings that you saved, and it turns out that 95% of the scripts that you wind up putting in the additional scripts we saw were set property value. So we tried to make this second box that like makes them like separate for you. It's clear these are settings and not special codes, but apparently sometimes that box is
So
broken.
can you only do additional scripts and just forget the rest? Can you?
Yes, you should just do additional scripts and you should forget
For
properties.
everything.
Forget properties.
For assets.
We still need to do assets and actions and keybinds, and those are not broken. Those are they use different code. But instead of properties, use additional scripts.
So does additional scripts do something else besides properties or just properties?
Additional scripts can do infinitely anything more.
Okay.
So let's get some people to see if we can save Earth Trail color change with the additional scripts.
You did it very quickly. Could you
Let's do it again.
A little slower.
Yes. So here we go. I am going to change my Earth Trail color to blue to purple. What did I do? I searched my Earth Trail. And you do have to spell the Earth right. And then I clicked on appearance, a little bigger, and then I changed the color. So now I am going to edit my profile, and I'm going to go to my additional scripts, which is edit right here. And then I'm going to say choose scripts to add, because you could just type them in here if you were a coder, right? But that's annoying. So you're going to hit choose scripts. And I could look and see if that's the one I want, or I could do that thing that I said where, I just know it's the last one, so I click the last one and I hit save. And now we can see it like took that code and put it into this box for my profile. And so what does it mean? It means that when the profile starts, OpenSpace will run that code, which will set the color. So it's like the equivalent of you doing all these button presses into your profile so that you don't have to do them to set up your profile to be the way you want when you start.
Do you have to move that into properties, or it just can live right
No,
there?
so now you just pretend the whole properties box doesn't exist.
Okay.
For now, just pretend the properties box does not exist. I'm covering it with my hand here as if that somehow covered it. So, Pretend properties doesn't exist, but what I said is still true, and we're just doing it in additional scripts. So in additional scripts is where we're going to take the codes to save our settings from what we want. So let's do a different one or another one, for example. So right now, OpenSpace is starting with this Tiangong Trail for the Chinese space station, right? I probably pronounced it wrong. But let's say you didn't want that to be included. You didn't want that to be shown, I mean. Like, you want it to be there but not shown. So now I'm going to say, oh, I want my profile to start with that one turned off. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go to my additional scripts. I'm going to say choose my scripts. And I can just pick the last line and hit save. I mean, if we want to look at this line, we can look at it, and I could just quickly describe how maybe you might understand that this is going to turn it off. It says OpenSpace set property value, scene, Tiangong Trail, renderable, enabled, false. So this is our code that says if something is showing or not. Enabled, the renderable. Renderable is the thing that shows up on the screen, and enabled is false, right? So we're going to do one or two more of the same exact thing so people can get there. I'm now going to just quit OpenSpace and relaunch it though, so that I can show and see that both my trail color is different and that Tiangong Trail is.
Hey, Micah.
Yes.
I was able to get the, like, in the other one, in the top box again.
Some things will work in the top box, but some will not, and that's why I just don't recommend using it all, because otherwise you have to learn which things will work in there. Everything will work in the additional scripts.
Gotcha.
Right? So and for you to learn which things work and which don't is not going to be annoying.
Gotcha.
I mean, you can if you want, but it's up to you. So here you can see, right, the trail for Tiangong is not there, and my Earth trail is perfect. So let's do one or two more and see if everyone can do that. I know you've already done it, but we're just going to repeat one or two things and maybe show how some of them might look different but are the same thing. So, for example, oh yeah, this is a great, right? The Earth trail again. Because I already kind of showed this with the color, but I want to show it again here. So the line fade amount. I want to see more of Earth trail, right? So I'm like, yeah, like that. I still want to have it a little bit off, but I want it to show more of it, right? And I'm like, oh, I want to save that. I want that to be like that in my profile, so I don't have to set it every time I go. What am I going to do, right? I'm going to go to my additional scripts. I'm going to hit choose scripts, and I'm going to pick that one on the bottom. But I did just want to show it again, because I've already shown it. What happened here is that as I used the slider, it was entering into the script log every step of that slider. So there's actually like a million bajillion entries, it's probably more like 70 or whatever, entries for this scene Earth trail renderable line fade amount, which is the code that is associated with that slider. But like I said, you just want the last one. That's the last thing that the slider did, the one that it ended at. So you literally just grabbing the line of code that's at the bottom of the list and hitting save. Now, I think now might be a great time for me to, even though I was going to show the additional scripts later since we've already been in here, I will show an example of a time where it's not at the bottom of the list. The code where other code is. But maybe before I do that, does anybody having trouble getting one of these things saved? Is anyone able to get an Earth trail or not get an Earth trail? Everybody, nobody had a problem saving the color of their Earth trail. Okay. Great. So, here I have my Excel runs. And I'm going to search Trappist1. And I'm going to hit plus. This is a common one I do, right? I want to show Trappist1 in my profile, in my show, and I don't want to have to open that Excel planet every time, search for it, and hit plus. I just want it to be in there. Now, if I were going to go to my additional scripts, one second, let me just start and show this. Oh, okay, well, we fixed that, okay. This time it actually was the last thing in the list. It used to output like a bajillion other scripts after it, and you just wanted the one that said exoplanet system, but they fixed that. So let me try to come up with another example of when it. If I can't come up with an example of when it's not the last thing, that's good. It's even better because it's even more always the last thing. So I'll try to think of it.
When I try to search for Travis, nothing's coming up.
In the exoplanet here, under the exoplanet system search. Okay. So, properties. Before I go on to the assets, does anyone have questions about saving the properties, right? This is how you want your profile to look, how you want the things to be changed or behave or visualized, right? There's a lot more different types of properties. I don't have time to explain all the different types of properties, but they all get saved the same way, right? Whether it's the length of a trail, the color of a trail, the number of asteroids in the main belt asteroid data set that you want to be rendered. All of those are properties that all get saved the same way.
Like you could pick which layer you want.
Exactly. No, as I tried to mention in the 101 session, which layer is turned on of a globe is just a property of that globe. So if I wanted Earth, the question was, you could decide which layer you want. So if I wanted Earth to start not with this cloud layer, but instead I wanted it to start with this layer, I could save that as a property. I will go into my additional scripts. Now, here's a real interesting one. Here's a great example that he says. Because the fact that the layer I wanted was underneath the layer that we were currently showing, I am actually going to have to save turning off that higher level layer and turning on ours. Because if I saved just turning on the one you want, the other one would be there on top always.
Can you save the
last two?
Exactly. So this is what I'm going to do, right? So I'm just going to do it again so that we can see here, right? So this is how it was, but I want to turn this one off, and I want to turn this one on. And that's how I want my globe to start. So in my additional scripts, I am going to, now I have to use a little bit of intelligence and read and look, and not just pick the last one. Because if I only pick fade in Esri world imagery, the combo layer will still be there. So I also have to pick the line 2 lines up that says fade out combo layer. So I pick them both and I hit save, right? And now one will start off and one will start on. If I didn't pick both, it wouldn't start on.
So when you're looking at it, it's like however this appears, and if I want to remove something, make sure I put that into my profile.
Yes, turning something off is what you have to save, just like turning something on. Equally as important to save.
is the order, so if you change the order so that was just...
Oh, the order does not matter. Yes.
Well, no, but it does matter.
I shouldn't say doesn't matter, but
Oh, no, I mean the order in the property list on the left. Could you change that order so it's just at the top of the, or the bottom of the list, the top of
Oh, I see what you mean. Could you have done this and moved it instead?
Yeah.
Yes, instead of turning them on and off, you could have moved it, but then you would have saved that. It would have.
So that's a line also.
It's 2 lines of code too.
Yeah, okay.
And there's always 6 in one, half less than the other. There's like a lot of different ways you can do the same thing in OpenSpace. So you could have moved one, like you could have turned one on and moved it, or you could have turned one on and turned the other off. They'd wind up with the same visual look. Question.
What was the line of code in between the two?
Yes. So what was the line of code in between the two? Sometimes, and this is one I've requested to actually be removed to make it easier for you all. And apparently they removed it in the exoplanet thing. Sometimes one line of code actually generates a second line of code. And that might wind up in there. But as the developers, we can identify that sometimes and have the second line of code be hidden. So the add exoplanet system used to also then execute all the lines of code, but you only needed one. In this case, the fade out Earth layers actually, after 1 second of fading it out, it executes this enabled false line of code. But you don't need that, so in the next version that will probably be hidden. Question?
Can you do things like switch the date that you load in on, or switch the timescales that you're moving at?
Yes, the question was, can you change the date or the timescale you're moving at? And actually, you could do that in the additional scripts, but that's so common that we made a time box here for you, where you can set the starting time of a profile. Now, since additional scripts could take anything, you could put some time setting code into it. Okay, and before I take more questions on additional scripts, I want to just get to the assets and actions real quick. So, I'm going to just really quickly show the assets. The good news is it's pretty easy to use. It's literally just a hierarchical tree of checkboxes that matches our folder of files. So, if I want to include the Earth magnetosphere, I'm just going to use the search and just search magnetosphere. And then I see this hierarchy and I see planets, Earth, magnetosphere. And then I have a checkbox. Okay, now let's say I wanted to include the Jupiter Trojan asteroids. I'm just going to search Trojan, right? And there's my Jupiter Trojan asteroids, and I'm going to hit save. And I'm going to hit save. And now I can see those two things have been added to my list of things. And I'm going to hit save and save again. And yes, I do want to replace my first profile. And now I'm going to have both the Earth magnetosphere and the Jupiter Trojan asteroids.
And are those on by default?
Great question. Are those on by default? Yes. Almost all of the things are on by default because later we plan to add like a little drop down next to the checkbox where you get to choose when you check it if it starts on or not. But we don't have that yet, so right now everything is on, like the Earth magnetosphere. But hopefully we would know how to save turning that off, right? Let's check that out. We're going to go to Scene. We're going to search our magnetosphere. We're going to turn it off. We're going to go back to our edit, our additional scripts. We're going to choose our script, and we're going to choose our one that says magnetosphere enable false. Save, save, save. Yes. And now the magnetosphere will start off.
Question, it says when you click magnetosphere, it gives an error and doesn't load. Are there two different magnetospheres in the assets now?
So here I went to my assets,
Yeah.
I searched
Yeah.
magnetosphere.
That's right.
And I wanted you to pick the Earth magnetosphere.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe you picked the Mercury
No, I
magnetosphere?
think
I'm not sure.
I did. But
Okay. And just like the profiles, the assets, the first time you run them, you may need to download those files. So if you didn't already have the Earth magnetosphere, but you didn't, then you would have downloaded it. So I might have just wasted all your time to download the Earth magnetosphere. It's not that big, I think, but now you are going to be like downloading those files, so I'm sorry for that. If you didn't do it yet, maybe don't check that box. Don't have the time of downloading it, but the first time you run it, it will have to download that. That's actually all there is to the assets. You just search for the ones and you check them. And so I'm going to just jump ahead to the actions and keybinds because we only have a couple more minutes and I just want to make sure we get it. The actions and keybinds is going to seem complicated, but if you got the choose scripts thing from the scripts, the actions and keybinds is going to work the same way, right? So I am going to say here on Earth, let's just, okay, yeah, here. So we have the Jupiter Trojan asteroids, right? Now, I want to, it's not that I want to start with them off, but I want to make myself a button to turn them on and off, right? So I'm going to go to my actions here, and I'm going to say edit. Ooh, it actually only says keybinds. I thought it said actions and keybinds, but I guess I'm wrong.
It does.
Actually, that's
Yeah. Am I launching the wrong version? What do you want me? Okay. Well, we just. Oh, there it is. That was. I don't know what's happening to my brain right now. Okay. And you see our actions empty. We haven't created any actions in this profile. And then I'm going to hit plus to make a new one. And I'm going to actually start with the name that says turn off Jupiter Trojan. Now, you might say, how can you start with the name and not this other thing, identifier? What's that? This is, basically you're going to put in the same thing into identifier, but you're going to see this OpenSpace is going to complain that says identifier must not contain white space. So you're going to go in and you're going to delete the spaces. Okay, I know, it must not contain white space. And now, so the identifier is like it's a secret system name for your action, separate from your name. And this is like, basically a way that like, if you just named your action like Jupiter, we couldn't like internally like name the action Jupiter in the system because there's other things called Jupiter. So this is like, if you mouse over it, it tells you blah, 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 blah. Really the thing is just like take your name of your button and just delete the spaces. The GUI path is the folder it's going to be in. So we would call these actions are in folders. So if I put /Micah, I'm going to get a folder named Micah, and my button is going to be in there. And it's going to be called Turn Off Jupiter Trojan. Right? So TRO, I'm turning it off. And what am I doing? I'm adding from script log. And I'm picking my thing that says fade out Jupiter Trojan and save. So now, when I hit save, boom, I now have an action that says turn off Jupiter Trojan, right? And I'm going to take a question in a second, but I'm just going to follow through this save and relaunch, and I'm going to have it just to show that, yes, I now have this button. Question?
You can throw multiple lines in there.
You could have 100 lines in there, you could have 10,000 lines in there. So one of the things about the action is it can do more than one thing. I would say half of my actions do one thing and half of them do more than one thing. There is really no like set thing of an action should be this many lines or that many lines. But now if we look in my actions, I have a Micah folder, and we have turn off Jupiter Trojan, which hopefully will turn off the Jupiter Trojan. Yay! Okay, so do we have any questions? We only have like a minute left. I'll just show it again, turning them on, and I'll take the questions.
So if you make several buttons here, because I did for one of the profiles, and there's not a way that you can reorder those buttons.
Great question. And the question was, is there a way to reorder the buttons? So right now, no. Right now, the buttons are only alphabetical, and you could use folders if you needed different organization. In the future, we may have something like that.
If you were to, is it alphabetical versus numerical? So like if I wanted the buttons in a certain order, I put one and then my...
I think so.
That might be something to try.
Question? I saw one in the back.
Yeah, that's just turn off, can you just change the state as a button? Like, so it goes on or off from the same button?
Yes. So the question was, could I make a toggle one? The thing is, you'd have to code that yourself.
Okay.
Because when you're taking the code from the menus, you just have to take whatever the menus do.
Right.
But if you did want like toggle Trojan, then you would like put in your own code that toggles it, which I happen to know that says like toggle fit. I happen to know the code as a developer, but you might not, right? Now the other powerful thing about this one is the keys, right? So I could hit plus and hit key for J for Jupiter, and then actions future, I can choose my action, right? So I'm going to turn on Trojan with J, and then hit save. And then I'll hit plus, and I'll hit shift, and I'll hit J, and actions user and say turn off Trojan. And now what's cool is I will have those buttons, but I'll also have them assigned to the J key and the Shift J key so that I can turn them on and off with the keybind. Because sometimes the buttoning is nice and easy, and sometimes the keybind is nice and easy. And so if you just make the action, you just get the button, and then the second part of the panel down here is where you can like assign it to a key. And you know, I have just found that it's more work to remember to assign it to a key, but it makes for a smoother presentation when I assign it to a key. So now, if we look in my folder of actions, I have turn them off and turn them on. And I purposely gave them weird names just to show that. And then I could do, you know, J or Shift J and J. Or, as Josh said, or who was asking about the toggle? Somebody asked about the toggle. Right. Since I knew the code, I had made.
Where would you find that if you were looking for that toggle code?
The question was, where would you find the code or know about the toggle fade code? I guess that you would find that on our documentation website in our coding reference. So we have the reference, the scripting API, which like lists out all of the code and all of the things that are available, and it's in here somewhere, toggle fade, and tells you what it does and the parameters it takes and gives you examples of how to use it. But how would you know to find that? I'm not sure yet. This is where you would find it. How would you know to find it? That's a question for another time, I think. What's that? You could search toggle fade or fade. You could search fade, yeah, and it gives you all the things that have fade.
Or not.
Maybe you want to search toggle instead. There it is. Ooh, that's a much better search. Toggle. My second thing came right up. Cool. We are out of time, but I will take questions throughout the whole rest of life on this.